السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
Thank you, sir. Now, may I request to Honorable Treasurer, Professor Dr. 𝐔𝐬𝐬𝐻𝐻 to not there. Thank you very much. It's a quite different part. I think the staff, the part ceremony of মধুপুনি মানুষ ধাচা দোলে মধুপুনি মানুষ ধাচা দোলে যেন উষার কোলে রাঙা রবি দোলে তোরা দেখে যা আমি নামায়ের কোলে তোরা দেখে যা আমি নামায়ের কোলে উন্মাদুকে আজি ধরি উঠে কে রই কালেমা শাহাদাতের পানি করতে কে রই খোদার জ্যোতি পেশানিতে ফুটে কে রই আকাশ গ্রহ তারা পড়ে উঠে কে রই পরে দুরুদ ফেরেশতা বেহেশতে সব দুবার কোলে তোরা দেখে যা আমি নামায়ের কোলে তোরা দেখে যা আমি নামায়ের কোলে মধুপুনি মানুষ ধাচা দোলে যেন উষার কোলে রাঙা রবি দোলে তোরা দেখে যা আমি নামায়ের কোলে তোরা দেখে যা আমি নামায়ের কোলে. Thank you, Honorable Treasurer, for a beautiful citation of the Rasul. Welcome at the University of Information Technology and Sciences, UITS, Institutional Quality Assurance Cell IQAC. Today, we all welcome in the international webinar, World QS World University Ranking. At the beginning, we play a small video about the QS World Ranking.
Undeniable value and accessible presentation. QS World Rankings are the most trusted independent source of global intelligence about the higher education sector, the most widely read university rankings in the world. Currently leading with consistent innovation and growth, progressively affecting the way students and institutions engage. In its 17th year, they continue to produce independent global rankings and evaluation of institutions. The data is based on high-quality research and innovative analytical approaches. They build rankings from over 16.4 million academic papers, 151,000 academics, and 99,000 employers' responses. Potential students can get expert advice to align them with their chosen path. What is the QS World University Rankings? An annual publication of university rankings comprises the global overall and subject rankings, names the world's top universities for 51 different subjects and 5 faculty areas, also for independent regional tables such as Asia, Latin America, Emerging Europe, and Central Asia. QS also produces graduate employability rankings, best student cities, higher education system strength rankings, rankings by location, suite of business school rankings including Global MBA, eMBA, Distance Online MBA, and Business Masters. This year's QS World University rankings include almost 1,500 institutions from around the world. MIT, University of Cambridge, Stanford University, University of Oxford, Harvard University, California Institute of Technology, Imperial College London, UCL, ETH Zurich, University of Chicago.
These are the all global ranking. In the next slide, I would like to produce that QS ranking 2025. So we are happy to announce that 15 university in Bangladesh has already reached the prestigious QS ranking, and from them, 8 universities are public universities listed, and 7 universities, private universities, top ranked in this very prestigious QS World Ranking. So today, without any further delay, our keynote speaker, Rami Awad, the Regional Manager, QS, he already joined from the Dubai, and actually we may arrange this program with a couple of months back preparation, and finally we have catch up the Rami Awad to today's program. And today we are very happy that our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. 𝐕𝐴 present in today's program. Our Honorable Treasurer, Deans of Faculties, Head of the Departments participate in today's program. Now, may I request to Rami Awad, Manager QS, to share his presentation and insights about the QS World University Ranking.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. First of all, I do hope I am audible in a good way. I hope everyone can hear me well. I thought of, as a small agenda from my side, is to give another introduction of QS, to explain a little bit why do we do the QS rankings, give a high-level information and brief about the QS World University Ranking, but then drill deeper into QS Asia Ranking, which I believe this is the ultimate goal for your university in the short strategy, I would say. I would like to highlight that if there are any clarifications, I usually take it on the go, but because of the nature of the call, I would love if everyone can, save those clarifications and questions until the QA. I do believe, inshallah, few of those clarifications can be answered within the slides themselves. So, as presented by Engineer Muhammad Safid, my name is Rami Awad. I've been with QS for about 3 years. I look after Africa, Middle East, and South Asia, and I support Dr. Ashwin Fernandez in the region. Dr. Ashwin Fernandez is a pillar when it comes to QS rankings. He's been with QS for about 13 years. And I do hope the ultimate goal would be to help your university understand the importance of ranking, because it's an external factor, it's an external wave, and I wish everybody will realize the importance of riding the wave into the correct manner. What is the mission and the purpose of QS? Since the inception, the mission of QS was about empowering the motivated candidates and the students around the world to fulfill their potential, fostering educational achievement, international mobility, and career development. So it's quite important to realize that such mission, again, really rooms around the candidates from A to Z. Now, understanding this very important stakeholder, we have noticed with our experience of 30 plus years and engagements with lots of other stakeholders, such as university presidents and managements, faculty, students, parents, policymakers, and so on. That the moment we keep candidates in the center of our focus, many other stakeholders getting aligned along with it. In this slide, I can highlight a point, which is plenty of people around the world recognize QS because of our different rankings. As mentioned, we have quite good rankings launched along the year. But I would like to highlight again that we are in continuous communication with different stakeholders from very long time. That means we can give back to the universities from the institutional performance side, how we can help them engage with the right partners, engage with the right research partnerships, giving back insights, helping them engage globally with conferences. But that's one side of the coin. The other side would be, how can we even help them engage with the student and make sure the success is there? Understanding the feedback from the students, engaging with their best, I would say, exchange, or how to attract the best talents and altogether. But the ultimate thing is, we can still give back with government engagements and help you understanding where do we stand from the employment point of view. This is a quick slide to showcase why we are the most consulted ranking organization in the world. We hear back from academics. So we have our global surveys, and with this, we listen back from about 170,000 academics around the world. Similarly, we hear back from about 100,000 employers around the world. We actually listen to their feedbacks from students along with government engagements. And look at on the left side of the screen, one of our flagship portals have a great number of views every year. And this is, again, gives us such amount of insights that we can give back to the universities, helping them strategize and calibrate their strategies altogether. In this quick slide, it shows the number of data points, touch points that we can analyze from all different aspects, from the organizations, from scope as part of it, from employers, from students. And again, we have a great insight and great algorithm that we can give back to the universities once again. I actually recently prepared the slides and I wanted to share it with everyone. So why do we rank in the first place? The first point is we do it for our students. And this is, again, in the hub of our mission. We need everyone to realize that we are doing this for the students so they'll be able to take a best educated guess. And with our surveys, we actually found out normally students start their journey usually students start their journey from the ranking. And this is quite important to understand that university should actually know how to map things out to be able to provide best things back to the students, which is ultimately your ultimate goal in here. But not only that, while having such amount of data, we can very much help into the benchmarking side. Universities can actually communicate and know where are they standing from the regional aspect or the global aspect. Along with that, we can very much give a huge amount of insights to different stakeholders that can help them in everything. And along with such insights, plenty of policymakers can actually have such an influence to recalibrate their strategies and goal ultimately. And this is exactly why I'm here today. Hopefully, inshallah, at the end of the session, we can help you and you can help us to know what kind of strategy do we need to do as a short-term, medium-term, and a long-term strategy. Ultimately, there's definitely someone has to do it. And lucky us, even from the founder, Nunzio Quacquarelli, he has that idea from A to Z, and it really helped QS to excel into such manner. This is a quick view of the different rankings that we have. Your university can definitely aim to be there in the subject ranking, into the Asia ranking, sustainability ranking, world university ranking. If you have an MBA, you can also include that into the list. But keep in mind, different strategies, different rankings require a little bit different strategies. And this is where, inshallah, today, we are going to quickly talk about world university ranking. As you can see here, there are, I think, 10 indicators, and I think you can quickly see that the majority of the weight will be about academic reputation, citation per faculty, and employer reputation. So all these together are half, or actually more than half of the weightage, which gives the importance on the reputation side and another importance of the impact of your research. And as I mentioned, inshallah, we are going to explain it briefly on the World University ranking. But when we go to the Asia ranking, we are going to go deeper and deeper. And I believe that where we will have all the questions. Let me start the explanation with the research and diversity part. Again, there are two indicators in here. When we open the academic reputation, why do we have the academic reputation part? Now, first of all, we pick up that information from the global survey that QS does. So this is very special for QS. And with that, we need to understand the perception of the quality of the institutions in the mind of such academia around the world. Let me give a quick example in here. There are plenty of institutes who are very strong and they have good reputation within the country, but they don't do well outside of their country. Now, we at QS, as a UK-based organization, we need everyone to aim for internationalizations, is no longer local or domestic. This is something that we can explain more. Another important factor, when we talk about reputation, it's not something that can be built up in a year. Everyone knows reputation requires time to mature and make sure we keep those kind of academia to recognize us and keep recognizing us. And this is where the academic reputation survey goes over 5 years as an aggregator. So this is where we have the cumulative, it's kind of like a formula where we communicate everything, we aggregate everything of those 5 years. The second part would be the citation per faculty. And as a quick indicator here, citation we pick up from Scopus and only Scopus. Faculty is something where we pick up from the university submitted data, and I will explain in a while. So this is where we actually try to find out the impact of such papers. Do we have the right amount of citations where every faculty somehow are producing? We don't want only few of the researchers to produce as much as possible. We need everyone to contribute to that. So here, as I said, we have it 5 years count of papers. But when we talk about citations, we included in the 6 years count of citations. And I repeat, inshallah, more to come, which I think it will explain everything. Now, when we talk about the employability and outcome, and this is very important part of it, we have another 2 indicators. Employer reputation, it's quite similar to the academic reputation. So we have it from our global survey, and this is very unique for us, where we communicate with the decision makers in different districts. Where do they hire, the best graduates, I would say. And with that, we pick up, again, their perceptions of the quality of the institutions. And this, once again, happens over 5 years count of the survey. The second part would be the employment outcome. And this is quite important because we need the university, once again, to try to focus on the employment rate and to balance it out with the alumni outcome. And the alumni outcome means what kind of effect did your graduates do on the society, on the environment, and so on. So we need to actually find out how many of your alumni have secured quite high-ranked job. How many of them have been featured in important known, let's say, magazines or databases? How many of them actually have done TED Talk and so on? This is another level of giving us a hint of what kind of quality of your alumni. Now, when we talk about the global engagements, and it has 3 sub-indicators in here, starting with international research network. This international research indicator is really key indicator. And in here, we are actually calculating the number of partnerships and co-authors that you have done with. So we need to calculate the number of papers that you have actually produced with other authors outside of Bangladesh. And this is another indicator, shows about how do you perceive your international image. And this is quite important because you need to find the right partners where they produce the right quality papers and eventually help you with the right quality citations. Again, we take this data from Scopus in the span of 5 years. Now then, we listen and we hear back from the universities with the number of international faculty. And this gives an insight to us about your engagements with the academia outside of Bangladesh. Similarly, how many international students are you attracting, which gives us an insight about what kind of talents and from which countries are you attracting to your own university. We are having here the learning experience, and that is from the faculty-student ratio. This is straightforward. We listen back from the university, and we hear, or we actually receive back the number of faculty, the number of students, and with that, we check the faculty-student ratio, and that helps us focus on what kind of focus do you have providing back to the students, what kind of pedagogy you might actually provide back to the students. And this is another indicator that we hear back from the students. Last but not least, we have the sustainability part now. Sustainability indicator is actually portion of our QS sustainability ranking. So this is a full ranking by itself. And if you are doing well on that part, we take 5% of that sustainability ranking and we feed it back to the QS World University Ranking. Now, if I may explain quickly about the sustainability ranking, on that different ranking, there is about only 20% of that ranking is actually submitted by university. So we go back to about 80% where we get it back from our surveys, from Scopus, from SDGs, the World Bank, and so on. So this is an auto-reflection of how your sustainability strategy is reflecting into the society. And this is always picked up by QS. And along with that, we have quickly finished the World University Ranking. I need to repeat again before I go into the inclusion criteria. Why did I go quickly into the World University Ranking? Because of 2 main reasons. The first one is Asia ranking is actually the door to all other rankings when it comes to QS. So this is where I actually need every faculty and the decision maker along with other stakeholders to realize at first they need to put a perfect strategy to Asia ranking to be able to make it to the World University Ranking. So here is number 1. Number 2, along with the inclusion criteria that you can see here in those slides, there is another very important threshold, which is the university must be in the top 50% of the Asia ranking to be considered for the World University Ranking. And this is how Engineer Muhammad Safit actually explained. In the Asia ranking, we have about, if I'm not mistaken, 23 Bangladeshi universities featured in that ranking. But now when we open the box of the QS World University Ranking, there are already 14, only 14. So this is where the universities which In the other half of the Asia ranking, in the bottom half of the Asia ranking, they are not eligible for the QS World University ranking. And that is an important point to consider. I repeat again, ladies and gentlemen, we need to understand those inclusion criteria. We need to aim for the best improvement and best performance in the Asia ranking. And in that next year, we will be eligible into the QS World University ranking. Now, let's get back to these inclusion criteria. How can we say that your university is actually having the eligibility to be ranked? First of all, the university cannot be a U-form university. And this is why there has to be at least 3 graduating classes, 3 graduating cohorts in both undergraduate and postgraduate. Number 2, there has to be at least 2 broad faculty area. And it's not be specialized. So it can be having subjects in art and humanities, engineering and technology, life science and medicine, natural science, and social science and management. So along with those, actually, cascading down from those 5 broad faculty area, we have about 57 different subjects. Let me give a quick example. Under the engineering and technology, we have petroleum engineering, computer science, we have other chemical engineering, and so on. So those are different subjects. So assumingly, there is one university who are having dentistry and pharmacy as the subjects. Those 2 subjects falls under one broad faculty area, and that's where it will not be having the eligibility criteria to be included in the Asia ranking. Having said the same, we have our QS subject ranking, which does not have this as an eligibility criteria. That subject ranking is quite different. And I don't want to bother you. I don't want to bombard you with lots of information. I think we can discuss that on a separate session, inshallah, targeting how can you have more than one subject be ranked into QS subject ranking. Now, this is what I mentioned about subject ranking. All institutions will be included in subjects, but there is an important point. If a university submit data that does not guarantee inclusion, or I would say featuring in the QS Asia ranking, and the main reason is we publish the top 850 universities in the Asia ranking. So let's assume in the next cycle, your university is included and in fact, actually ranked as number 900. That means we cannot mention your name because we only feature and we only publish the top 850 universities in the Asia ranking. Similarly, when we go to the QS World University ranking, we only publish the top 1,500 universities in the world. So this is where we need you to have that eligibility. But again, that competitive part should always fire you to do more and to do better than your other peers. I have mentioned it now. Ranking is competing with peers. So it is very important for all of us to understand that we need to actually analyze where is the right direction. But the second and most important, we need to run faster than others. It's a competition. Everyone understand ranking, everyone do better. And I would like you also to understand this part and map the required indicators so we can do better. Now, let's talk more deeper about the Asia ranking. The first observation would be, we have more indicators than the QS World University ranking. The second indicator, as you may see, we have 30% academic, 20% employer. Now we have about 10 and 10 and 10. But reputation alone is 50% of the methodology. So it shows the importance of what kind of news do you have? What kind of papers do you produce? And how those papers actually promote and brand the university, where people recognize you for your quality and then vote for you eventually. Having mentioned the same, let's talk about it section by section. And I actually analyzed it, or I segregated it in the way, how do we collect data? What are the mechanisms of collecting the data? And the first one is university submitted data. So these are the data, the insights that actually being provided back by the university to QS. So from all of the indicators that we have here, we will be talking about stuff with PhD, faculty-student ratio, international faculty ratio, international student ratio, international exchange as an inbound, sorry, not international, inbound exchange and outbound exchange. So these are the parts of the information that provided back by the university. And here is it. So this is where we need the university to have the QS Hub account. And inshallah, I can discuss it later with Engineer Muhammad Safit on how to take that forward. Are we eligible? If yes, do we have the Scopus ID in the right way? If yes, do we have the minimum number of publications? If yes, then we can provide back, share credentials where the university will be able to provide to QS the number of faculty. From that, number of faculty with PhD, number of international faculty, overall students, international students, inbound exchange, outbound exchange, employability rate, and so on. So it is not an easy task, but at the same time, it is not complicated. I need to highlight here an important point where the next cycle, the deadline to submit data for the next cycle is in February 2025. So I would really implore everyone, and I encourage everyone to start having that mechanism and mindset of ranking from now so we can collect the right data. I believe that data management is a science by itself. How do we collect the right data? How to analyze the data and how to submit data on time? This is a screenshot of the landing page of QS Hub, and this is how universities actually submit data. Now, a quick point in here where we need to understand from the university, what is the full-time when it comes to faculty or student? What is the part-time? Now, head count will be that addition of both full-time and part-time. But for us, the most important point to consider would be the FTE, and that is called full-time equivalent. Now, what is full-time equivalent is 100% of the full-time plus 1/3 of part-timers. And this is, as you can see in this example in here, if there is ideally 5,000 full-time, 300 part-timers, so the FTE will be 5,100 and goes on to the rest of the fields, I would say. I do hope everything is clear so far. And as I mentioned, please, I encourage you to write down your clarifications and we can hopefully have a beautiful interactive QA session. Now, the second part of collecting the data would be the impact and the research. So this is where we only consider 3 indicators, and those are citation per paper, paper per faculty, international research network, and we take these information only from Scopus. And this is something to understand it perfectly. If there are other publications in other databases, they will be out of the radar of QS. If you can see here, we actually analyze good number of amount of papers and with those a number of citations. But what is international research network? If we need to understand that per se, I personally believe if I do paper, it will be quite different from an impact point of view than doing it with the right co-author that can help me with it. I can actually have a co-author helping me with the paper that his H-index is 10. And I'm pretty sure everyone would agree with me that impact would be different from another co-author that the impact is, the H-index is 40. Now, this is where we encourage always that collaboration with the authors and the researchers globally. And with that, we always reward the partnerships. We always, the collaboration that done outside of your own country. But if I would ask, when do we calculate as now this researcher have 1 point, or I would say how this university have a point? We have 2 variables in here. We need to see how many peers you have done partners collaboration with, but similarly, how many countries are you doing collaboration with? So this is where it's quite important to diversify our reach and to have that recognition from more than one university, and we try to do more than one paper to do the right effect. Now, keep in mind, as it appears here in bold, we need to have at least 3 or more papers indexed in Scopus in the span of 5 years. So this duration in here is included or actually calculated for the next cycle. So inshallah, once we analyze and calculate all of such Scopus output for your university next year, we will be considering the papers that have been produced since 2019 to 2023. And any collaboration, any paper that has been picked up from that, where, as an example, Engineering Muhammad Safid have done it in a collaboration with Rami, only then we will start the count of that. The other 2 indicators in here would be papers per faculty. And it's quite, again, I would say this is quite straightforward. We count the number of papers produced. And as you can see here, the papers count is 2019 to 23, 5 years. And then we take it as a ratio with the number of faculty, the number of FTE that you have. And this is where it has always another huge discussion on that. And I think while we have the QA, inshallah, we can answer more questions. The second indicator here would be the citation per paper. Now, keep in mind, citation, we consider it for the duration of 6 years. And that would be since 2019 to 2024. Now, we all understand if there is a paper produced in 2023, it needs some time for that citation to pick up. And this is where we added 1 more year to factor that paper, and it will be counted in your own favor. A few key points to consider in here. We at QS exclude self-citation. So if you have any self-citation related to those papers, it will automatically be excluded. It does not add value, but it does not do damage as well. We simply exclude. But similarly, we also have what we call it affiliation cap. And this is quite important to understand. We don't want authors to start, gaming the system and manipulate things out. And this is where we kept an affiliation cap. There are some papers where it requires actually a collaboration between 3 or 4 and even 5 authors. But we don't want that to go way beyond certain number, and everyone will have his own network and citation, and that will manipulate things out. So this is where we have an affiliation cap, and any paper that we figured out it has more than the affiliation related to this paper, more than this affiliation cap, it will be excluded. Now, let me add another point. I'm pretty sure everyone would agree with me. The papers produced in the life science will be actually much faster than the papers produced in the management or even in the art humanities. This is where we have another level that we call it a normalization, and we try to reduce the effect of such STEM generally, but at the same time, we actually amplify the effect of the other faculty areas that have low production. And as you can see in front of me, this is a quick example that we have done it, I think, 2 years ago. When we get the build from Scopus, 51% of that build were in the life science and medicine. But after doing such a reduced effect to try to balance it out, it has dropped down to 26%. Similarly, any papers produced in the art humanities had actually been amplified to become 15%. So this is where we encourage every researcher in all different faculty areas. If your paper would require 1.5 years, 2 years, still produce and aim to produce more, because you will definitely have effect and a positive effect to the university overall. And from here, I would really encourage everyone to keep producing, because that is your capital. That is your actual gold mine. I personally am a big believer that when I read a research paper, it gives me a proper image, a proper understanding of the quality of the researcher, quality of the college, and quality of the university. So this is where we need you to keep producing more. And from this platform, from this conference, from this workshop, I would like to request everyone, we don't want to focus on the quantity of the papers over than quality. We need to balance it out. Actually, if we have the more citations, it actually gives the good image that the quality of papers, quality of researchers are always good, which eventually will help you in the reputation side. And in here, in that reputation box, would be the third and the last method of collecting the data. Now, as I mentioned before, we have 30% academic reputation, 20% employer reputation. But how do we do about it? This is where we at QS, and with our experience and our long communication with different stakeholders, we have our own database. But apart from that, we also like to listen from universities. This is a two-way communication, right? We need you to engage with the QS, and that way we can actually give back your insights in the proper analyzed way. Having mentioned that, along with the database that we have, we allow every university to provide up to 400 nominations to QS. Now, why do we do that? Because again, it is very important to understand you have your communications with your peers, communication with your partners, communication with your employers. Sometimes such communication is not in QS database, and we would love definitely to hear from them. Why is that? The next slide will explain that once we hear from an employer or an academia, they will tell us their feedback about their top 40 universities. So it's quite important to understand from their mindset up to their marks, what do they believe is the top 40 universities? So that will help your universities and other universities as well. Let me go back to this slide to make sure that we clear it out. The moment the university submits 400 names, I would say up to 400 names, those 400 names will be added to the database of QS. We will deduplicate those nominations, because who knows, maybe your university submitted the name of Rami Awad, but then there is another university in India, as an example, submitted the name of Rami Awad. Eventually, I need to receive only one survey. With that, I will mention that 40 universities I was referring to. Along with this, I need to also highlight that to try to gather as much responses as possible, we send a survey, and after 1 week, we send a reminder. After another week, we send a second reminder. After another week, we send third and final reminder. And with that, we close the survey. So this is quite important that even academia and employers understand the importance of responding to surveys to help the university, to help QS, and to help the higher education overall. This is quite the punchline of academic survey. We simply need to ask this academic person, in your subject area, please select up to 10 domestic universities and up to 30 international universities that produce good research and have good quality, and they have good achievements. So this is where, as I mentioned again, such perception and such feedback, or let's say view, can change from one person to another. But keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this is kind of like a voting system. Whether someone voted for you as first university or even last university, it will be a point towards your name. So that's something we need to realize. That's something we need to understand. And from this point, I also need to highlight something else, that everyone has his own rank in his mind. I mean, basically, we all know there's even ranking in heaven. In Jannah, there is ranking. But apart from that, we need to make sure that your university is actually in the top of their mind. Having mentioned that, let me add more to it. If Rami Awad, as an example again, knows about your university, but in my own mind, you are ranked as number 50, right? And I'm located in UAE. So I will give 10 universities from UAE, and then I need to give 30 names from outside UAE. But if your name in my own mind is number 50, then it will be out of the selected range. This is where, again, that's competing with peers. We need to know where are we strength and how can we communicate with our academics in the right way. So they will recognize me. And this is where, again, we have collected such good number of accounts of academia, and they gave their feedback to us. The most important point of this whole slide, and forgive me for emphasizing it really so high, any international votes is calculated much higher than domestic votes. So if you can see here, it's 85% weightage will go to the international votes, more than domestic votes. If you remember, I mentioned we need the university to be known outside Bangladesh way more than within. Ideally, people within Bangladesh will be having the word of mouth. You have your connections, networks, students talking about you, parents talking about you. That's not the idea that we at QS want. We need you to go global. We need you to put your foot into the global map. Again, this is why international votes are about 85 kind of like percents comparing with the 15% of the domestic votes. But when we speak about employer reputation, there is no international votes comparing to domestic votes. It is 1-to-1. If you receive a vote from within Bangladesh, it will be similar to receiving it from outside of Bangladesh. And again, it's quite logical that your graduates will ideally have or find a job within Bangladesh way faster than outside. So it's important to understand that. But on the same survey part, we need to ask that decision maker in the company, in the organization, in the bank, in the government, in your experience and in your domain, who do you think, produce the best graduates? Can you tell us as a QS up to 10 domestic universities and up to 30 international universities? And this is where we collected from around 101,000 employers from the world. As kind of like a summary towards that, it's very important, again, to recognize and understand whom are we database. Why am I mentioning that? Always in continuous communication with our peers, with conferences, with co-authors, even with normal friends. So it is important to be ambassador to our own universities. We at QS can help very much into that, but this is not the platform for the same. Along with that, it is always good to have the GDPR compliance mindset. So we need also you to recognize who gave you the consent to provide their feedback or actually provide their email ID to QS so we can communicate with them, right? And this is all the indicators that we are having in the Asia ranking. Slightly moving forward, let me move forward. This slide shows there was a university ranked, and if I'm not mistaken, this is ranked in the Arab ranking, not in the Asia ranking. But I wanted to highlight something very important. They did not submit any data to QS. This is where I believe the ranking is a reflect of your doings, is a mirror of what you're doing. If you have the right papers and the right quality papers, that will definitely kind of like promote the university, where eventually has recognized some of academia. People have voted for this university. And this is where it helped them actually get the required score and get into the Asia ranking. So this is very important for you to understand that it is quite nice to submit data to QS that definitely help it out. We don't want to leave it to the region average or the country average. Sometimes you might have a good ratio and a good number of faculty. But along with that, we need to also understand that ranking is a mechanism where it's an ongoing process. And I would like to highlight again, this has been running for more than 21 years as a QS World University ranking. So we always try to adapt and make sure that it's relevant to everyone. Sometimes there are some issues in one indicator to a country, but again, we cannot work it out. We need to make it relevant to everyone. With this, I have a few more slides to go before actually I again open the platform for questions. I would like everyone to ask themselves these questions: that do we have the right understanding for ranking? With that, how do we plan ahead? But similarly, I'm very happy that Engineer Mohammed Safiq have communicated with us, because speaking to us will shorten that duration of understanding and how to strategize forward. But having mentioned that, I need everyone to ask, do we have the right team? Do you have the right understanding of the ranking? What about the right data, the right data sources? Is all the stakeholders realize what is their importance in the ranking? Do we have the right research and the right partnerships? So there are loads of questions that we need to ask ourselves to be able to, again, reflect and make it a mirror into the ranking altogether. Last but not least, we have our support.qs.com, which is a very comprehensive portal that have lots of information related to rankings. So our rankings team always update this portal with latest definitions, latest indicators, news to make sure that everyone around the world, when they access it, they have the latest update from this. And from here, I thank you so much for this opportunity to present to you. I do hope it will help you out, and I do hope, inshallah, the coming Q&As will clarify everything from A to Z. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's a very detailed presentation about the QS World University Ranking. A big round of applause to Rami Awad, Manager QS from UITS. Thank you. So we will take some question answer after speech of our chief guest and specialist. Now, at this moment, I would like to request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. 𝐓𝐴 to give his chief guest speech.
In college, respected keynote speaker, Mr. Rami Awad, and guests from UITS and very good afternoon. The QS rankings are a vital tool for universities, offering insights into global trends, understanding their methodology, which assesses research, faculty quality, and student engagement is key. Strong ranking attract talent, funding, and enhance reputation. Our institution quality and skill plays a crucial role in driving these improvements, fostering a thriving academic environment. To climb the ladder, universities must prioritize faculty development, high-impact research, and international collaboration. At UITS, we constantly strive for excellence. We are committed to exceptional education, cutting-edge research, and a vibrant academic community. By focusing on these areas, we aim to establish UITS as a leader, not just in Bangladesh, but on world stage. Let's use this seminar, facilitated by our esteemed IQAC, to explore strategies for enhancing UITS's position in the QS ranking. Though through collaboration, we can ensure our university continues to be recognized for excellence in education and research. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Thank you very much, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. 𝐓𝐴 to give his chief guest speech. Now, we'd like to request today's special guest, Professor Dr. 𝐔𝐧𝐢𝐯𝐶 Ahmed, Honorable Treasurer, University of Information Technology and Sciences, to give his vote of thanks.
Thank you. Honorable Vice Chancellor of UITS, Professor Priya. Thank you, everybody. Yes. We have with us our Honorable Vice Chancellor of UITS, and Dean of different faculties of UITS and other distinct faculties of UITS who are participating in this important seminar. This seminar, the keynote speaker or the facilitator of this important seminar is Mr. 𝐷𝐴𝐴𝐴𝐴, is the regional manager staying at Dubai, and he is working in US World University. The deliberation lasts for 2 hours long, but throughout the whole deliberation, Mr. 𝐷𝐴𝐴𝐴𝐴 has given his insights into the world university rankings. What is the idea of university ranking, and why this is done, and how this is done? What is the importance of this world university rankings of a particular institution like UITS? In fact, the participants from our part, we are enlightened, and we come to know the pros and cons of this US World University rankings, its methodology, its importance, and what should be done from our part. This is an elaboration discussion, and we as the participants from University of Information Technology and Sciences, we are very much benefited out of this seminar, and we could make strategies and policies how to reach the peak of this world ranking, world university rankings. So I am very much thankful to, especially to Mr. 𝐷𝐴𝐴𝐴𝐴, our today's speaker, and I am very much grateful to the University of Dubai, especially thanks to our today's chief guest, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. 𝐓𝐴𝐴𝐴𝐴, because he has made this arrangement to make this seminar successful. And I very much special thanks goes to our director, IQAC, Mr. 𝐔𝐬𝐴𝐴, who made all these things possible by his talent, knowledge, and making the communication successful with the world ranking, world university ranking opportunities, especially with Mr. 𝐷𝐴𝐴𝐴𝐴, and his task through this seminar. So this sort of endeavor, this sort of efforts will come forward, and in this way, our university and especially the faculties of this university will be highly benefited and make ourselves consistent with the quality of our university, as well as to achieve our deserved ranking in world university. And I'm very much thankful to all my faculties and colleagues that they have taken a lot of classes by participating here, and with the essence hearing, listening join this seminar. We are very much thankful to them. In this way, by joining other seminars held by IQAC, that is our faculties, that is our department subjects, disciplines, as well as our university. So these viewers, here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Wow.
Thank you very much. A big round of applause to Honorable Treasurer, Professor Dr. 𝐶𝐬𝐬𝐻. So today's program, international webinar on QS World University Ranking. So this program will get a very valuable insights from Ramya Awad, the manager QS. I would like to give a small token of appreciation to Ramya Awad. So this is a certificate of appreciation presented to Ramya Awad, the regional manager at QS, as a keynote speaker in recognition to his valuable contributions to the international webinar on QS World University Ranking, hosted by IQAC UITS. Thank you very much. This is a very small token of appreciation.
Thank you.
Momentum. You can remember us, and we would like to take a lot of help from him to be involved, included in the prestigious QS International Journal, International Ranking in some days, inshallah.
Inshallah, inshallah. I'm very grateful. And as you mentioned, and everyone mentions, we need to start at the soonest, but where to start and how start, we can discuss that very much for sure.
Thank you. At this moment, the floor is open for the question answer session. Raise your hand for any questions to our keynote speaker, Ramya Awad, Manager QS. So we are at this moment, since these things are actually new to us and lots of attributes, actually we need to study more hard to be included into QS, inshallah, next time. But at this moment, I'd like to request our two leaders, two honorable deans, Faculty of Science and Engineering and Dean Faculty of Business, to give his thoughts about the QS International Ranking.
Thank you very much, Honorable Vice Chancellor, UITS, Honorable Treasurer, Dean Faculty, Honorable Faculty members, and especially the keynote speaker, Ramya Awad. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a dire need nowadays, ranking, and especially the prestigious ranking, QS ranking. We are striving for that. I hope we'll get a lot of benefits from your presentation, as well as when needed, we'll seek some help from you, and you will raise your hand for our this journey. Wish you all the best. Hope for the best. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
This session obviously is very much significant for us because US world ranking is a important matter for the different kinds of the university. We know that this is the session from which we can achieve some things. And obviously, Mr. President, we want to give many thanks because we know from your presentation different kinds of attributes of the QS world ranking. So much also very good thanks. And obviously, participants, I want to say to the participants, you are participate here. And thanks to everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. The Dean Faculty of Business. So we are about to finish our today's webinar. The IQAC is dedicated to continuously improving our university academic standing. Understanding this ranking is crucial for identifying areas where we can excel. Today's discussion will equip us with valuable insights and strategies to elevate UITS position at the world stage. We hope you all have a fruitful learning experience in today's webinar, and today is the beginning of a new journey. We hope we can arrange more sessions like this so that we can be potential to be improve ourselves to be eligible in the QS World University Ranking. Last a closing word from Ramiwa, and we will close the sessions. Ramiwa.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank everyone for listening to me. And I am a big believer, again, that ranking is an external factor. I would like to highlight the importance of understanding it because it is not a rocket science. It is something that helps every one of us. And the rankings per se look at mainly 4 pillars. The teaching, the research, the employability, and the reputation, the international outlook. So it is quite important that everyone can contribute in their own scope. How the alumni can be better alumni, how can they actually speak about you, how your pedagogy, how your contents of the lectures, choosing the right students, choosing the right faculty, improve the faculty managements, be visible everywhere. It is a big cycle, but we need to do things one by one. And inshallah, I will always be in touch to be able to add value and to try to expedite anything that we can do. But the key message here and the last message is international outlook. I request everyone to focus on that and go beyond Bangladesh and make sure everyone recognize you where it will be picked up by QS one way or another. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. A big round of applause to our keynote speaker again. And we would like to conclude our today's session. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Wa alaikum assalam.